152 USA. Radio Slovakia International. Slovakia Today.
For the 10th of February, this is Gavin Shoebridge at the microphone.
This is RSI News.
Extraordinary parliamentary session to discuss striking teachers. Slovakia's lawsuit against migrant voters may be resolved this year. Slovak flying car showcased at Dubai Innovation Forum. Speaker of Parliament Peter Pellegrini has convened the 61st parliamentary session at the request of MPs. A group of opposition MPs on Tuesday asked the Speaker of Parliament to convene an unscheduled session of Parliament. As Pellegrini informed in a press conference, the session will be held on Thursday, February the 11th, starting at 10 a.m. Deputies will have 2 points on the agenda, namely the adoption of a parliamentary resolution regarding the crisis situation in the education sector and measures for the long-term sustainable improvement of the education system. The lawsuit filed by Slovakia regarding refugee relocation quotas among EU member states will be decided by the end of the year, said European Court of Justice President Bernd Lennarts during his visit to the Slovak Supreme Court on Tuesday. Certainly, it's not a matter of years, but of months. It could be up to 12 months, said Lennarts, when questioned about the timescale. The suit was registered at the court in Luxembourg on December the 3rd. The Slovak company Aeromobil is participating in the current edition of the World Government Summit in Dubai, Tessa learnt on Tuesday. Participants are discussing how governments could tap into innovations and technologies to resolve challenges that humanity faces. This important meeting serves as an analytic platform for future trends, innovations and opportunities. It's an opportunity to show innovations, the best practices and creative solutions to future challenges, explained Martin Brunsko, Aeromobil Strategy and Finance Director. They discussed capabilities and opportunities that their flying car could bring to the transport systems in vast suburban areas and in countries with less developed road infrastructure. More than 3,000 participants from more than 100 countries attended the forum, which is under the patronage of the United Arab Emirates Vice President Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Participants can exchange knowledge and experience from the area of technology, and the 3-day event ends today, February the 10th.
Topical issue.
Slovak President Andrej Kiska has been asked by the nurses' unions and chamber on Tuesday to contribute to the resolution of the current situation by his authority, Tessa learnt the same day. Nurses believe that Kiska will be successful as a mediator between them and the cabinet. Kiska didn't make any comments on the protest's development and current situation in hospitals, but stated that every nurse that goes abroad is a loss for Slovakia. Kiska said that the healthcare system should be a top priority for the next government and parliament. Without the support of top officials, there can't be any change to the healthcare system, emphasized Kiska. Nurses and Midwives Trade Union head Monika Kavitska said that Kiska gave her assurances that he will try to calm the situation down.
Hello and welcome to Radio Slovakia International and the Wednesday edition of Slovakia Today with me, Katarina Richterová. We have a half hour ready for you full of interesting stories about life here in Slovakia. We started the show with the news compiled from the Slovak press agencies Sita and Tasr. And coming up on the show, first up, we'll look into the future. What will Slovak families look like in 2035? Do you know? We do.
Our predictions say that about 20% of women in Slovakia will have...
Then we'll take you to an open-air museum that displays some incredibly old oldies. The walls, the paving, the sacrifice hall, all original. And after that, we'll add another part of our So Slovak series. You wouldn't say, Dobrý deň, Shoebridge, but you would say...
That would be a bit rude, I think.
Right, so you would say, Dobrý deň, pán Shoebridge.
Mr.
I don't
Shoebridge.
think I've ever called you that.
It's probably a good thing.
Let's start
You
that.
haven't been in trouble.
It's true. All this is coming up in the next half hour, accompanied by good Slovak music. Sounds interesting? If so, then sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Radio Slovakia. Slovakia International. Slovakia Today.
Today, we're going to look into the future. No, there'll be no reading from cards, poems, or tea leaves. It'll be a long, hard look into the future, backed by science, done by this guy.
Branislav Šprocha, výskumné
Branislav or Braňo Šprocha, a young scientist of the Slovak Academy of Sciences of the Futurology or the Forecasting Institute. He claims he knows what Slovak households will look like in 2035. This is no hocus pocus. It's real predictions based on real scientific evidence.
Slovensko starne a bude aj stárnuť.
Slovakia is aging and will also be aging in the future, and this goes for the whole world. So, in fact, we could say that the 21st century will be a century of the population's aging.
Starnutia populácie.
Okay, this is not new. We've heard this before. But what does that mean for the way life will look like in 20 years' time? Well, for one thing, for every child in Slovakia, there will be 2 seniors.
Tí naši odhady hovoria, že
Our predictions say that about 20% of women in Slovakia will have no children at all.
bezdetných.
Back in the day, during communism, there were patterns which most people followed, simply because the country was not free in terms of movement, speech, religion, and so most young people did what was expected. They got married and had their first child at as early as 22. Now, after the political change in the country some 30 to 40 years on, women started saying no to the default behavior. They wanted to finish their studies, start their careers, then young people had problems getting a place to live, so they put family on hold. So now, most women have their first child at the age of 30 and are catching up on family in their later years.
Ženy sa stavali veľmi skoro mať.
Women in the generation born before the 1960s had on average 2 children. The ones born in the 1970s and onwards will have 1 or 1.5 children on average. It's a dramatic change. In the future, the number of newborns will not be sufficient. There will be more people dying than being born. So in fact, Slovakia is dying out. This is something that will inevitably happen and there's no way around it.
To je jednoducho fakt, ktorý nastane a k tomu sa nevyhneme.
And Slovakia is not alone in this. Other Western European countries are also dying out. I know it sounds terrible, but there are ways to deal with this, assures me Braňo Šprocha. One of them is
Cieľená migračná politika alebo vôbec využiť
A targeted migration policy or making use of the potential of migrants. As in some parts of the world, the population is still growing. However, the window of demographic opportunity is closing pretty fast, and these less developed countries are also starting to age.
aj ich prípade.
right. So in 2035, most women will have 1 child, and only some will have 2. So there will be mostly 3-person households.
Najčastejším typom domácností
In fact, the most common type of households in 2035 will be single one-person households. And that's because aging brings a big risk of being widowed or divorced. So there will be more and more single households.
tých domácností na Slovensku.
Currently, many divorcees cohabit or live together with a partner but are not legally married. And what we're seeing more and more of is for single people to start doing the same thing. They live together in this non-married, unbound way to test whether the couple gets along well. But these young people remain in this cohabitation status without ever getting married. In fact, 40% of children are born out of wedlock in Slovakia nowadays.
Tu určite predpoklad, že by naozaj mohli
We predict that these kind of cohabitations could become even more frequent, especially with young people.
určite je.
Okay, this is funny, a little absurd in fact, but did you know that each area or a region of Slovakia has a typical kind of household?
In southern and central southern Slovakia, we will see mostly single households, and it will also be so in 20 years. In eastern and central northern Slovakia, we will be seeing complete families with small children. In western Slovakia, there will be complete families living without children. That is either families that have had children grow up or childless families. And also single households will be pretty frequent in the bigger urban areas here.
So I guess the good news is that in 20 years' time, the way we'll live will be pretty variable, each to their own. Now, when When talking about families and households, marriages come up, and so do, unfortunately, divorces. The number of divorces has constantly been on the rise in Slovakia. However, in the last few years, it has started to stagnate. Right now, roughly every third marriage ends in a divorce. However, as today more and more people are holding out with marriage, marriages are believed to be more voluntary, thought-through decisions. This could mean good news for the distant future.
Ako osobný názor, skôr si myslím, že
I personally believe that, due to all of this, the rate of divorces should not go up, but stay where it is, or mildly drop.
dokonca ešte mierne ďalej klesať.
Perfect words of the prognostic Branier Sprocha there. Remember how we started with the fact that Slovakia is aging? Yes, well, in 20 years, there'll be more seniors that will need health and social care. And there will be not enough people at the productive age to pay for it. It's a grim prognostic that left most people at the lecture I attended not very happy. It's going to happen. There is no sugarcoating this, scientists say. However, there is an upside to it.
Dnešní seniori a budúci seniori to bude úplne odlišné.
Seniors of the future will be very different from the seniors of today. Many more of them will be highly educated, will have had higher positions and good careers, their consumer behavior will be different, and their health at the age of 60 to 70 will be much better. So this is the good news, that they will be much less of a burden to the economy.
Zmierni. V tomto kontexte sa spomína predovšetkým koncept.
Aging also brings a new potential business economy, the so-called silver economy.
Meaning businesses focused on seniors that until now have not been so common or popular.
Si profitovať
There will be high demand for services and products focused on seniors in the future.
seniorov.
Branier Sprocha says it's important to prepare ourselves for what is to come in the future. So what should we do or change today that will make life in 20 years better?
V podstate jednoduchá odpoveď na túto otázku neexistuje. Samozrejme,
There is no simple answer to this question. Sustainability of natural resources is very important. We only have this one Earth. The resources are finite, and despite the fact that the population is aging, it's still growing, and this planet has only a certain capacity. Due to this aging, society in 20 years will be very different to the one today. Any changes we create should be systematic and long-term.
prípravy nesmú byť len kozmetického charakteru.
Okay, that's Slovakia in 2035. Hope we did not scare you. The one thing that is very probable, research shows, is that we'll be healthier and will live longer. Okay, and from looking far ahead into the future, let's take a trip back to the past. Here at RSI, we'd like to give you tips of what to see and do while at Slovakia. And this place is one to put on the list. That is, if you're interested in the very distant past.